Greetings, kings and queens. We've got yet another episode of the Royal Corner today. I'm sitting with a gentleman that inspires me ever so much because of the strides that he's making in corporate South Africa. Nkosana Roda, welcome to the Royal Corner podcast.
Thank you so much, Vitumela. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I think I shared with you that you're one of the people that I had listed to interview. I think you have to be very intentional with these things. And when I was putting together, just preparing for launching the podcast, I listed a number of people that I knew I had to approach. And for me, I was looking at your journey. I see all the cool things that you're doing on LinkedIn as you post.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful and refreshing to have someone as a young gentleman from corporate, coming to speak to us today, because I think we need many more of those stories. We only ever get insight when we listen to interviews with people that are already at CEO level or CIO and so on.
Yeah.
But to see you and the advancements that you've made in corporate. So looking forward to the conversation today.
Oh, no, thanks. And I hope by the time we're done, the people out there that can maybe learn a thing or two, or maybe some of the mistakes that I made along the journey, and so that they also don't make those mistakes.
Yeah. So Nkosana, you're currently head of payment platform services.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, and you work for a bank, one of the big banks.
100%.
Yeah, tell us how it all began, where this journey started, and then we'll get into how you got to this point. But where did it start?
Yeah. I think, before we come to Johannesburg, we have to go back home, right? And for me, I grew up in Mafikeng. And the journey for me began there. I spent most of my life there at a school called International School of South Africa. Loved it. It was amazing school. And if you're from Mafikeng, you either love it or you hate it. Um, and already there, I learned a lot. But I guess for me, while I was there, sometimes there were times where I felt like, am I meant to be here or not? The only reason I say that is the school I went to growing up, it was a private school. And so my mom and dad worked really hard to make sure I get into it. And I mean, in that school, you had presidents' grandchildren there. It was that type of school. So I was really honored to be there. But it was always a thing of, there were some really rich kids here. And I was the boy wa Kokasi. I mean, Kokasi, they'll call me cheese boy around Go Unit 8, where I grew up. And yet on one side, growing up, go Unit 8, but then I'm going to ISA on the other side. But I think it taught me a lot about, taking ownership and actually just taking your place on that table or creating your own. And it's that has helped go into my journey now in the corporate world, because not at any point in corporate did I ever feel like I don't belong here. And I think it's because it started from school, where I'm surrounded by presidents' grandchildren, politicians' kids, filthy rich kids, or just super intelligent kids that got there with a bursary, as an example. And I think for me that already taught me a lot. And just seeing how hard my mom and dad worked to get me into school made sure that I can't afford to fail. Or if I do fail, I need to then figure out a way out, and then keep on rising. And that failing thing, it actually then transpired into, I moved to Johannesburg. I went to University of Johannesburg, did my BCom economics, did econometrics there, and did my honors there. And funny thing, I always had this thing that me and my dad are gonna run the country from a musician perspective.
Yeah.
So what I mean about that is my dad has always he's probably one of the most successful promoters this country or Africa has ever seen. They started bringing big artists. I mean, at the age of 8, I was on stage with Michael Jackson.
Hectic.
Like, yeah, like literally, we are on stage. Like 20 kids were singing "Heal the World." We're all holding teddy bears on stage. 100,000 people. So already that thing of me being an international promoter with my dad was always in my mind. And so growing up, I didn't think corporate. I just thought I'm gonna get my qualifications and I'm gonna work with my dad, and we're gonna make magic happen. And so that's where my vision was always, my mind was always at. And I got to meet some incredible people, like Tamia, Akon, Joe, Anthony Hamilton. Like the list just kept on going on, and I think that also gave me confidence,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not something that everyone does, and I
Yeah.
think it also helped me back at when I was growing up and stuff, because I was like, yes, you guys have all the money, you have all of this, but I'm also meeting the stars. So I love that. I really love that
Yeah.
growing up. And so when I finished my honors, things didn't quite work out. And I spent 10 months unemployed. So here I am, the guy that went to ISA, passed at ISA, the guy that went to varsity, passed, got his degree, got his honors in the record time. I don't know why they still say record time, but anyway. And now I'm 10 months unemployed. And it was the most difficult time of my life, honestly. And I was not prepared for that. And fine, it took me 10 months to really find what I really wanted to do. And I end up in financial services.
Yeah.
And I've been with the same bank for the last 13 years. Yeah.
13 years. Yeah. I was going to say, it's interesting because, I mean, you tell us about your childhood and how your dad is this big name in the music promotion industry. I don't know if that's how you say it. Music promotion industry?
Yeah, a promoter.
A
Yeah.
promoter, one of the biggest, most well-known promoters in the country. And you thought that you were going to do that with him, but then you went on to study economics.
Yeah.
So how
I
did that
know.
happen? How did you bridge that
So
in?
funny thing. Here I am in grade, I think it's grade 11. We used to call it Form 5.
Yeah.
And they did a career week. At that time, I said, I want to do accounting or auditing. Right? And so they then say, for a week, we're going to go visit an accounting firm. And so I end up with an auditing firm. And within day one, I was like, I don't belong here. Like, I don't know if it was from the dress code or if it just felt boring. There was no excitement, like that thrill. Like I couldn't feel it. And then I was like, nope. I don't want to do accounting, auditing, anything related. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, guys, but just wasn't for me, for my type of character.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I started doing economics also at school, and I was like, actually, let me just try it. Maybe it'll help me understand the world in a different manner. And to a certain extent, it does help me from that perspective. But yeah, it was pretty interesting from saying, I'm going to work with my dad, but at the same time, I'm doing a BCom degree in something else. One of the things I did major in, though, was business management. And I thought that part would help me with working with my dad. At the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then, I wanted to just get that perspective. So then you went on and completed, and then here you are, 10 months, you cannot find a job.
Yeah, 10 months, I can't find a job. I met an incredible woman within the bank that I work in today. And so I was going through the interview roles and stuff, and obviously she was part of preparing everyone for that, and I think her and I just clicked from the get-go.
Yeah.
And funny enough, it was a grad program. It was a risk graduate program. And I got all the way to the final stages where I think it's about like 55 young, passionate South Africans, and they're going for the top 30 and stuff to be in the graduate program. And, I was so confident I was going to get in. Like, when you're there and you're like, here, I'm
did it.
inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Genile.
And I didn't get in. Damn, that hit me.
Sure.
It hit me. I didn't get in. But then the bank said, look, you didn't get in, but there's this other program.
Yeah.
For 2-3 years, I would always say it's part graduate program, part learnership. That is how they sold it to me.
Yeah.
But it was still a learnership. I got in through a learnership into the bank, and I was in private banking. Right? Started off in private banking, and I did that for about a year, and I learned so much. Like, working with customers is so exciting, but sometimes it can be a bit scary because you need to know what you're talking about. Because they're also looking at you for guidance. So I learned so much in private banking, and at some point, I then sat and I said, and I'm glad it happened at a young age. And I hope this is something that most people take. If there's one thing they should take out, it's this, right? The one thing that helped me in corporate was I said to myself, what do I want to be? At that point, I didn't know, right? And because I mean, just a year ago, it was I'm going to do bringing international artists with my dad, right? And then now I'm in private banking, right? And so I then said, okay, cool. I don't know what I want to be, but I know the type of role I want to be in. And at that point, I was like, I want to be CEO of the bank.
Mr. CEO.
And you see, I even started calling myself Mr. CEO. Yeah. And so when I moved from one role to the next, it was always the first and most important question was, what skill sets does a CEO need to have? So I started off in private banking, right?
Yeah.
So understanding how to speak with customers and you know and from that perspective, understanding the customer, the importance of the customer, right? Started there. And then I moved into credit risk, right? Because I said the CEO needs to understand credit and how to manage risk. I then moved into that. After that, I then and I think actually before I even talk about after that, so when I moved into credit risk, that same role that came just over a year ago showed itself again. For a risk graduate program once again.
Oh.
And I applied. And once again, I got to the final round. But you won't believe this. I didn't get in.
Again.
Again.
Yo.
Yeah.
You must have been so hacked.
I was.
Yeah.
I really was. And here I am. And I still remember there was a gentleman there that said to me, I remember you from last year, and this is not who you are. So
Whoa.
yeah, and that stayed with me forever. Eh?
So
The
he says this during the interview process to
Yeah.
say, I do remember you and I don't think this is for you.
No, it's like this is not who you are. You're acting in terms of who you are.
Oh, who you showed up as last year
Yeah.
and now.
100%.
Whoa.
Because I thought in these type of graduate programs, they're looking for a certain type of person.
Yeah.
So I spoke less. I was more to myself. So I was really trying to be someone that I'm not. I wasn't speaking to too many people and stuff. And and he could see it. And
Yo.
at that point, I was like, I will never again walk into a room and not be myself.
Wow.
At that point, I don't remember his face, but I remember what he said and how much it impacted me. And I was like, I will always be myself everywhere I go.
Never dim yourself.
Exactly. 100%. If that place is not for you, another door will open. Yeah. So fast forward, I went into credit risk, and and I think I've never put in so many hours like I did at that point.
Wow.
And the reason for that was at that time I was living in the CBD, and I'd always call it Marshalltown. It just sounded better in my mind than just saying I'm staying in Johannesburg CBD.
Yeah.
And funny enough, my friends would always make jokes when the people around to saying I stay in Alex and stuff. And it was all funny, and then whatever would laugh about it. But you know, guys, we laugh at each other and
Yeah.
stuff. And so at the time, and I really wanted to push. I was like, this is not the life I imagined for myself. I didn't imagine I'd be. I was already starting to wear suits. I've always loved suits. I think I had one or two suits that I would repeat each and every single week because I just felt different when I was in a suit.
Yeah.
And I just love that, and I've carried that throughout. So at that time, I'm staying in Marshalltown, and work is like a 5 minute walk from me. I would make sure I'm one of the first people there. I would make sure I'm one of the last people to leave. I'd make sure I come on some Saturdays and most Sundays. And the reason for that was they basically took, at that point when I went into credit risk, they took a number of us and they said, this usually takes 18 months to get from point A to point B. I said, I'm going to do it in half the time. And because they said, if you get to 18 months, you can then move to the next position.
Okay.
Right? So I think instead of the 18 months, I did it in like 7 months.
Sure.
Got there, showed them the results. But unfortunately, at that time, the area was going through changes. And unfortunately, and I created good relationships with the senior managers there and the head of that area. And they were honest with me. And I always respect leaders that are honest. And they told me to say, look, obviously, this is the deal we made, but unfortunately, things aren't going well in this particular area. So that's not going to happen at this point in time. I said, thank you, but I think my journey needs to continue. And at that point, that's when I then looked in the bank, what else is around, and that's how I end up in strategy and business architecture, by an incredible woman by the name of Justine. She's my mentor today. She's absolutely amazing. She's moved to the UK now, but a lot of what I am today, even her growing my authenticity was more from her. Um, yeah, she's the type of person you're having a serious board meeting, and she finds the perfect way to just speak about her kids in such a way
Oh,
that
wow.
whoever you are, you're just actually listening, and it's she the way she does storytelling is just amazing.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I was in strategy and business architecture, and I did that for about 3 years, up until such a point where, at that point, she also knew I want to be CEO of the bank. And she said, look, I've taught you strategy. You've done employee engagement. Part of the role involves strategy and employee engagement internally. So we would do things for influencing 6,000 employees within the bank, platforms that I'd run end to end. So it was a really eye-opening and amazing place for me. And the one thing I appreciate about her, she put me in boardrooms I was never meant to be in. She put me there as a consultant. I wasn't even a manager, and she put me in those sessions where it's just executives. The amount of the amount of confidence and the amount of learning it gave me so quickly in such a short time. And I'll always say to someone, if you really want to help someone, put them in spaces they're not ready to be in. Just let them listen. So I'd listen to them discuss certain things, even if it meant there's an argument. I'd listen to it just to understand how you deal with certain situations. And so it then came a point where she said, "Look, I've taught you everything you need to know, and but you need to own an income statement, right?" So we understood customers, went to credit risk, and then we went to strategy, right? And employee engagement. Then it became, but now you still don't own an income statement. You're not looking at your financials to say, if you make these changes, what is the impact going to be? So at that point, she asked me which areas I'm fond of within the organization, and I mentioned two areas, and it just happened that because she was also getting in people and she was getting graduates, there was a bit of capacity in our area. So it just happened that I could be 50% seconded to another area,
Okay.
which basically means I could work for that area for free while my area is still paying for me. So that area would just have me for free. And so I joined that area, and in that area, I was a lab consultant. So we would go out, speak to customers, find out the problems that they're having, and come back and solution for the problems that they have. Once we get a solution, we then go out again, create a prototype, and have them test it. It taught me a lot from an IT perspective in terms of building things. And so I joined that area. And within 3 months, I was the lab lead. I joined as a lab consultant. Within 3 months, I was the lab lead of that area. And here I am. I'm around experts that have been dealing with the remittance space. So remittance is basically sending money to a cell phone number. And now I'm leading them 3 months later. And it was a very exciting time because for me, I'm learning something completely new. And at that point, that's when I finally found out and realized, actually, this is my passion.
Wow.
And this was what, 5 years later, 6 years after being in corporate. I'm hopping around a bit, and that's when I'm like, this is my passion. Like, just understanding a customer's problems and coming with solutions to solve it is so beautiful. And when you then see that solution live and you're getting feedback from the customer, that just moves you in ways nothing else can. I absolutely love it, and I still do that today. So yeah, from becoming lab lead of the area, I then became product owner for from a remittance perspective for South Africa and also for cross border, and then I headed up that area. So I've been heading up the area now for the last I think it's 4 years in next month. Yeah,
Okay.
4 years. And it's been a really amazing journey, and I think some of the things that I did learn on that journey, one is definitely always be yourself, no matter what, whether and a lot of people do this. I had someone under me, and she was a graduate, and she wanted to start being different. Like, she would go into corporate and she wasn't for wearing heels and looking all classy or anything. And she was like, "Do I need to do this to get far?" And I said, "No, you do not. Always be yourself."
Yeah.
And now she's doing so well for herself, and I'm proud of her every time I see her. But and I think, yeah, that authenticity part is important. Bringing energy to work, for me, it's important. I appreciate that. I appreciate people that do that, and there are different ways to do it. You can even bring energy by just setting up meetings with different people. So a lot of times introverts may feel that they need to stand out more. Sometimes standing out more is having a coffee with one-on-one with someone.
Yeah.
That is you standing up, and then someone is gonna get to know who you are and what your values are.
Yeah.
And it's something I started doing at an early age. I remember one of the CEOs in the personal business banking side. I think I was 22, and I set up a meeting with them, and they're like, "You're one of the youngest people to ever ask to meet me and just know my journey."
Yeah.
And I used to do that so often. I need to do that again. Because you learn so much by
Yeah.
just having a 30-minute coffee break. And when you're young in a corporate world, you tend to think people bite, but everyone is human.
Yeah.
And that helped me a lot to understand what people's values are, what they believe in. And a lot of the time, family would come out a lot, God would come out a lot, and just working hard. And I had this thing growing up that once you become an executive or head up an area or CEOs, you work less. They work.
Really?
The working never stops.
Gotta graft continuously.
Yeah, continuously. The
Yeah.
working never stops. And I think what I then noticed as time went on is that a lot of the times the people that have a household where it allows them to thrive, they're the people that end up thriving a lot. Yeah, there's even a joke of a very successful woman in the bank that said, "Ish, then I guess I need to get myself a supporting wife." Also, someone that's going to be there for them. But look, I'm single.
I was about to say, I'm like, hey, Nkosana, where is the wife? Because you're not yet married yourself. So
Yeah, no, I'm not. I found stability in being alone.
Yeah.
I think for stability, for me, it comes from God. Over the years, I've gotten closer and closer to God. It comes from meditation. I am big in meditation. So just taking 10 minutes a day and just there's an app I use, Insights Timer, where it just gives you for like 8 minutes, 9 minutes. It will just you can decide what you want to talk about, whether it's to boost your energy, whether it's to talk about love, money, business, a stressful day. It really helps me a lot. And growing up, I didn't understand meditation the same way I didn't understand going to see a therapist.
Yeah.
Growing up, it's not something that we grew up with to say, no, you must see it. It's good to see a therapist. You don't see a therapist because you're in depression or something. You can actually see a therapist just you're good, but you want to get better.
Yes.
I remember, like, because I used to go to therapy, and when I got in there, I sat down and then it's like, Nkosana, so how can I help you? I'm like, first of all, I am very happy. But there's a certain part of my life I need to make better. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And it taught me a lot about therapy. So please go to therapy.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. You've said a mouthful.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things that I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, in my head. I know I wasn't voicing it out, but one of the things that stood out for me, you spoke about authenticity and the importance of showing up authentically in the workplace. In fact, this past week, I was in a conversation where I was moderating a conversation and it was really talking about like different generations and how we work well together in the workplace.
Yeah.
So I asked the question actually around authenticity to say, we're often told that please show up as your whole self. But then there's the other side that says corporate is not a safe space. So what are those barriers? What are those limits? I want to show up as myself. You gave an example of the lady underneath you who didn't like heels and all of that. There are many elements, I guess, that we can touch on when we speak about authenticity. There's your private life, of course. We are human beings showing up in the different spaces that we come into. And sometimes things at home are not so great. Whatever may be happening, we all experience loss, as an example. Do you share things like that at work? How far do you go? And also in the same breath, I mean, there's also the notion around you have to connect with people at work and you have to network, and you spoke about different personality types. There are people who are a lot more introverted, so it's not so easy for them to connect with the next person.
Yeah.
So do you now need to, because if you're just authentic and you're yourself, you're going to sit in your corner. You're not going to be asking for coffees and things like that, engaging people outside of what is comfortable to you. So I actually asked that question, and now I'm asking it to you, especially because you highlighted showing up authentically. And I'm very happy to hear that that particular person during the interview process, when you went for the credit risk program again, was able to spot it and say to you, don't change who you are. I'm happy they did that for you, because it sounds like it was really a game changer for you to say, never walk into any room and change yourself. So in a nutshell, showing up authentically in the corporate space, what are the limits?
So being authentic, obviously, you should always be yourself. Number one, that's the base, right? But you still then need to grow who you are as a person, and that's where your EQ also plays a role. So if you are like, I can be very loud. I'm loud. I'm still loud in meetings today. Um, there's a colleague of mine, and they toot us away. Like when we both in meetings, it's a battle of who's
Chaos.
talking the loudest. Yeah, and but and it takes me back to one of the executives I used to sit close to when I was working for Justine, and so when I had a conversation with her, one of our coffee sessions, what she said to me is, Nkosana, I am number one introvert as they come. However, there's certain elements I had to grow into. It doesn't mean you're not authentic. It's just that because you're in a different setting, you're not in your mother's house at the end of the day. There's certain elements that she had to grow into, and to be a better leader, as an example, because you can't now, yes, you're an introvert, but you can't be the leader now. You're not even going to talk to your team, as an example. And so there's certain elements that you always have to ask yourself, what can I grow in, and actually work hard for those things. And I mean, and even someone like me, I have those. And funny enough, most people think I'm an extrovert. I'm right down the middle. I did those tests that we had to do. So I'm like an introvert and an extrovert. There's a word for it. I forgot what it's called.
Ambivert.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
relate to that. I'm
Yes,
that too.
exactly. Because
Yeah.
when I get home, I am finished. Because all the energy that you're bringing out during the day, when you get home, you're finished. So back to your question, it's be yourself, but also evolve from who you are. The same way, like I always think of your Gokus and stuff and Super Saiyans and all of that, from Dragon Ball Z, but you're still yourself, but you become like a Super Saiyan, a better version of yourself, and then you become another better version of yourself, and that's what we need to all strive to be. And it comes in different ways for different people. So you're still authentic, but you're still then learning what are some of the aspects that either one can help you incorporate
Yeah.
to get you further, uh and I mean, and the different things that can help you get you further, right? One, you always have to work hard, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah.
And two, you always, I think for me it's important to always show up, and if people don't want to do something, do it. I have a cousin. They now work for Starlink, and I still remember many years ago. He's like my cousin slash mentor and brother, and he would always say, all those things that people don't want to do, just do it. Just do it. They'll see you, and then just find ways to also stand out where you can, and network as much as possible. Yeah.
So visibility.
Visibility is important.
Yeah.
Some people say it's not. I will always think it's important. And people do it in different ways. Some people, today, some people work 2 to 3 times a week. You may find there's someone out there saying to be more visible, they're going to the office every single day. And that may work for them, but it may not work for the next person.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes just try different things, but it doesn't mean you're not being authentic.
Yes.
You're just trying to grasp different tools that can help you also get ahead, because that's all we're trying to do, right? Reach our next levels.
Sure, that's such an incredible share. It's such an incredible one because it puts things into perspective. I think sometimes things are very theoretical. I remember before, because we obviously work for the same organization.
Yeah.
before I joined, because I joined in 2013 through the graduate development program, quite a rigorous process that you have to go through before you actually get that seat, you
Like
know?
4 or 5 different
Yo,
processes.
hey, you stress. And I guess fortunately for my journey, I was able to, I think that first round, I managed to get in, the first time around, which was great. And you go into the business thinking, I'm a graduate. I got employed through the graduate development program because they obviously went through a series of interviews with different people and they identified that I'm talent. And then you get into the workplace and it's a big place. It's a very big place and it can be quite intimidating for a young person to join. But having that courage, I like that you demonstrated having that courage to say the coffee dates. I could relate to that very well because I used to do that. I actually don't do that enough now. I actually don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I need to get back into it as well. And I don't know what it is, with because we've been working for years. Maybe there's a level of we get busy. I know that we get very busy, but it can be a level of getting into a bit of a comfort zone. And there's so much to learn by getting yourself out and saying, I'm gonna set up a coffee, even with that very senior person that I wouldn't ordinarily, but I'm gonna do it to learn more about their business area and whatever curiosity you have that they may help you with fulfilling. So thank you for
100%.
sharing that because I think that's so important, especially for young people that are coming into the corporate environment and not knowing how to navigate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And I mean, there's also, I guess, things like mentorship and coaching also tends to become a buzzword sometimes. But for me, you don't need to have someone that you are setting up meetings with every single month. It's more about if you see someone that you admire or someone that has something that lights you a little, have a 30-minute session with them. Doesn't mean you need to see them every month or every 2 months. I have mentors where we talk on WhatsApp occasionally, but the serious meetings will happen like once a year, as an
Yes.
example. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But once again, it may not work for everyone, but I prefer that also because I understand they're also busy.
Yeah.
So if I really have something I can't deal with, that's when I'll have that conversation with them.
Yeah.
And it actually reminds me of a time where, do you know, I once cried in corporate.
Really?
Yo!
Tell us more.
So we're dealing with an issue that was really difficult to handle. And funny, and sometimes you're so much in the work because you're so passionate about it, and you're so used to coming up with solutions, but sometimes certain things are above you.
Yes.
And so I couldn't solve it, and I remember having a conversation with my dad, and like tears are coming down. I'm like, yo, Dad, I don't know what to do. Like, my son, you cannot be having a situation that is making you literally cry like this, and you haven't involved your leaders yet. Can I tell you something? That's the last time I said I will ever cry in corporate, because I then told myself, if something feels so heavy that I'm going to feel like crying, it means it's too big for me. I need to involve the people above me.
Yes.
And nothing's ever felt like it's gonna make me cry ever since then. And so for me, like, I have a very bad memory, by the way, but there's certain moments my brain will not forget.
Yes.
Like, even because even for me, like, growing up, the simple things is, everywhere I go, I believe you must greet people around you.
Yeah.
Greet the security guards, greet the cleaners. And so many people don't do it, and I always notice those type of things, which I have my own views about it. But, like, just treating everyone on the same level for
Yeah.
me is so important. No one is above anyone else.
Yeah.
And as humans, we tend to forget that. But it's something my mother always made clear to, like, Nkosana, you respect people based on because they're people,
Yes.
not based on titles or money they have. And I think maybe also going to Issa also helped me to say, I will respect everyone based on who they are as a person, not based on anything else. Yeah.
Sure. You know what? I'm so delighted that you've shared about that vulnerability to say you cried, because in our society, men are not supposed to cry. And I'm glad that you shared that to say, man, yes, those moments will happen. But there's another lesson in there to say you cried because you were trying to carry this thing on your own, where you could have actually reached out to your leaders and had someone to share this with you, this load, and in fact help you resolve it, instead of just carrying this thing. And
Exactly. And as soon as I did that, I felt so much lighter.
imagine.
And my leaders were able to help me.
Yeah.
So you see, so sometimes you just think that it's just us against the world.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need to look up and realize you're never truly alone.
And teamwork makes the dream work. And I think it
Exactly.
applies across all instances. And I think coming into corporate, there's also the thing you studied, you got your honors, and of course, you've been afforded a space in the workplace because there's a skill set that you come with. And sometimes we tend to think that we cannot, whether it's you not knowing something, you don't want to appear as weak. Like, because you're here, you're sitting here, so you think that you have to solve this thing by yourself. Meanwhile, no, it's not the way that it should be.
Correct.
You shouldn't be suffering or struggling alone. There's a team for a reason.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we tend to forget that. And, sometimes just get in a room or go out for lunch with people and say, guys, I'm struggling with this problem. I just need help brainstorming. And you'll find that you end up having the solution. I mean, my sister was telling me the other day how her bosses actually come to her a lot when they're struggling with a problem, and she somehow gets them through. Sometimes, yes, they actually already have the answers, but sometimes they just need to hear a different perspective of certain
Wow.
things, and she really plays that role well with them. And I hope they pay her for that. But yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
so it's teamwork is definitely very important.
Yeah, sure. You also spoke about mentorship. Mentorship, and I've read books and been exposed to some leaders myself where they say somebody, it's not that, because I'd ask, like, how did you get here? Like, were you super smart? How come you've got this position? Many a times I've heard I was at the right place at the right time, or someone spoke for me when I wasn't there. And earlier in the conversation, you spoke about, I think you said her name is Justine, and how she put you in spaces and in rooms where you ordinarily wouldn't have been privy to those rooms. And I guess was your sponsor to a certain extent, right? To say, mentioning your name when you're not there, putting you in rooms. Yeah.
I wouldn't call it sponsorship.
Yeah.
Because sponsorship has a very different meaning in corporate.
Okay.
For me, sponsorship is someone that's gonna take you levels.
Yes.
And Justine didn't do that for me.
Yeah.
She exposed me to
Okay.
certain things. And funny enough, a lot of people did see that, and then I left, and then they're like, "Huh? But what's going on? Like, she has no influence where I'm going." But it was because she wasn't my sponsor. It was more like she was a leader that I was very close to.
Yes.
Because for me, a sponsor in the corporate world is someone where, and it's one of those words that it's still not understood until you're there.
Yeah.
But for me, a sponsor is just someone there that they're gonna help you go from position to position somehow. How they do it, I don't know. I've never had a sponsor. I want to have a sponsor. If I had a sponsor, I'll be a senior executive right now. Like, I've had conversations with executives, and they're execs at the age of 27. I'm like, what? So like, I wish that was me, but yeah, no, there is a thing of sponsorship, but a lot of people also deny it, to say there isn't a thing in corporate of sponsorship, but I think there is.
Yeah.
It's just that, though, it's not something you will see, but it's not something you need. And I truly believe it's not something you need. Because I mean, when I look at my journey, I wasn't the most intelligent person at school. I wasn't the funniest person at school. I wasn't the richest person at school. When I got into banking, even though I grew up with my mother working from the bank, she was already out of the bank, and she wasn't.
Oh, she was in the same bank.
Yeah, when
Oh.
the day I was born, my mother was working for a bank.
Okay.
I was born in banking, basically.
Yeah.
So the universe then said, "You're not going to promoting international artists. You're coming into
This
banking.
is where you are going to be.
This is where you're going to be." So so I guess the whole thing of networking and all of that, you can create your own networks. I mean, we went to a very powerful school at the time, but none of that has helped me in terms of from a networking perspective.
Yeah.
Not 1 inch. Everything. I mean, my dad obviously was instrumental in the music industry, but none of that helped me. I had to do it alone. But I did it off the learnings I got from my dad, my mom, my sister, colleagues, mentors. So I didn't do it alone, definitely. But yeah, it wasn't like you've been giving us a stool to step on to be above everyone else. But yeah,
Yeah, hard work and putting yourself out there.
100%.
Sure.
And also just asking yourself, what are you really trying to solve for? So sometimes I have this thing because I'm in payments, right? I have this thing where when I'm solving a solution, I ask myself one of two questions. Is this solving a real need, or is this just a nice to have solution? When it's a nice to have solution, I don't want it. There are
Okay.
many solutions out there in the world today that are nice to have. You use it because something else that you would use is not available.
Yes.
And so I like to build the solutions where I'm like, you need it. Today, I run a product where someone is stuck and they need money for gas, and there's an ATM or Spa or Pep to get your money, and you can send them money to cash it out there instantly. Those type of things where whether it is to put food on the table, you can send money to any city in the country. So those type of things for me, when we're building them, it really makes me feel that I'm making a difference, and I just want to do more and more. Because I mean, I look at Africa and I'm like, wow, there's so much opportunity here. Eh?
Sure.
And I'm in payments, and the world of payments. The next 5 years is gonna be so beautiful. Like as a customer, I'll be like, I'm looking forward to that.
Wow.
Like the way payments is evolving, from a banking perspective, from a fintech perspective, from a South African Reserve Bank perspective, it's just so beautiful. And what I love is that they all just working together now, and it's truly amazing. And all I just want to see is just see Africa grow, because I see payments being instrumental to seeing Africa grow. People talk about China and India, how it's all entrenched, but it's also because it was banks and governments coming together. In like your Chinese markets and stuff, you get them having wallets as an example.
Yeah.
I also look after a wallet but everyone is using it. But it's because from the regulator perspective, they then saw the importance of it.
Yeah.
And just like from a South African perspective, the good part, I guess, here is that a lot of people do have bank accounts. Most South Africans do have bank accounts. So from a financial inclusion, we're already on a good pathway. There's still more we can do. And I intend to be part of that journey, and I'm loving being part of that journey.
You can tell. I mean, the passion is coming out quite strongly. And this is where I've also been watching your journey, like I said, on the likes of LinkedIn, and I see you do a lot of speaking engagements as well.
Oh, I love that.
You love it,
I
right? You
love
thrive.
it. No, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just getting on a platform and speaking about payments. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I was speaking at, I think it was called Payments Live. And before we went on, they said, guys, please, we're here to learn, but don't be afraid to challenge each other if you're wrong, and if you have different opinions. And we
Yeah.
actually did that, and it was actually fun. I enjoyed it, and I also learned certain things. It wasn't about winning, it was just about really engaging with payment experts and finding out what truly their views are. And I really enjoyed that. And I want to put a disclaimer.
Yeah.
I'm not single. What I meant was I'm not married. I am dating.
Go
I have
home,
to
my
put
first.
that
Go
disclaimer.
home, my first. And Pella, they were gonna flock in the DMs. Vamo, but Nkosana Roda, and then slide into your DM. So you had to put that out there.
Yes, I have to put that out there. Yeah.
That's so funny. Interesting. Like the fact that you're looking forward to how the payments landscape is evolving and all the developments there. There's obviously also a lot of fraud on the rise. And I mean, you are the expert here when it comes to payments. So, me sending, you use the example of somebody stuck at a filling station and they don't have necessarily the ATM where I could send, let's say it's my sibling and they're stuck and I can't send them money because there isn't necessarily an ATM. So there are all these developments that are taking place. There's wallets and there's MVNOs that are playing in this space as well. So being in that space, how do you ensure that you stay abreast of all the things that are happening, whether it's the rise of fraud or any developments? There's AI now that's in the mix as well. There's so many things to consider. And payments, I think, is a very big space.
Yeah.
So how do you stay abreast of all these developments?
Yeah, it's a very interesting space. I think seminars helped me for one.
Okay.
I like to go to seminars just to see what are people talking about and what are people advertising. The last seminar I went to, I couldn't believe it. But there were, you know how in a lot of seminars you have people that have they have like a stand where they're talking about their products.
Yeah.
And this particular seminar, for the first time in my life, I saw 7 of the 8 companies that were there. They were talking about compliance. They had a compliance company basically where they'll help you do suspicious transaction, look for suspicious monitoring, or looking for doing for sanction screening and PIP screening and all those things. And I found it beautiful because I was like, you know what, as a country, we're taking compliance seriously, which is something very good from a regulatory perspective. But I think for me, what also helps me a lot is I do a lot of research in terms of what's happening around the world.
Okay.
Because in the past, not that it will always happen, because I think our banking systems are some of the best in the world where we are. But it's always good to see what's happening around the world and also in Africa, especially with the wallets. Because if you look at Africa, whether it's Kenya, Ghana, they are far ahead than actually South Africa when it comes to wallets.
Yeah.
Obviously, bank accounts, different story, but from that perspective, they're far ahead. So I remember even in 2018, I had the opportunity to go to Kenya to actually see how things are there. I
Yeah.
was actually amazed. And the one thing they would say, everywhere you go, it's M-Pesa, M-Pesa, M-Pesa.
Yes.
And it is, but also it's cash, cash, cash. That's the part they don't talk about. So even when I went to the market and I could buy with M-Pesa, I could also buy with cash.
Yeah.
So it was just about what the customer prefers. And I think those are some of the things that from a country perspective today we struggle with, right, in South Africa. If you look at whether it is the taxi industry, whether you look at the informal economy, it's very much cash dependent.
Yeah.
And I look forward to the future where we can possibly digitize some of those elements.
Yeah.
We will never live in the world where there is no cash. I don't believe that. It's my own opinion. Cash is king, but it has a role. The same way as payments. And as we evolve payments and customers see the benefit of it, then they want to use it. I mean, there's this view. People would always say a taxi owner doesn't want to put his money in the bank, and be like, who said that? That is a thing of the past. Like today, taxi owners understand that if I have cash and I'm putting it in the bank, and I see I'm getting cash on a daily basis, 6 months from now I can get a VAF deal where I'm getting an extra taxi.
Yes.
You understand? So they're thinking in a very different manner now, and I think and that's the one thing that has to be clear, is that from a South African perspective, people are very wise. They understand money. There's just certain elements that obviously we all have to teach ourselves with. But from engaging different customers, or even I'm on the side of the road, she understands where I need to get value, where I must go get my goods to get the most value, how much I should be selling it at. That's competitor analysis and those type of things. So the business acronym is there in South Africa, and I see it's growing. I mean, when you go on social media, you're seeing young people, whether they're selling hairs or doing makeup, they're fixing things. Like and for me, I just want that part to grow.
Yeah.
Grow further than beauty, although there's so much money in beauty. But I want it to grow so much because I think if we can become entrepreneurs in South Africa more and more, and actually commercialize it, that's how we get rid of unemployment. It needs a lot more young people to start saying, I want to start a business, and they actually start it. And I take my head off for anyone that does that. I think it's the hardest thing to do. Corporate is slightly easier, because in entrepreneurship, it's if you don't go to work today, you may not have food on the table. Whereas in corporate, you could take a leave day today, as an example. So for me, that's where I'll always take my hat off to entrepreneurs, because what they're doing, employing more people, it's a very tough ask, and I just want to see those companies just grow and grow and get bigger.
Oh, incredible. Yo, I can't wait until you become CEO because I think you have so much insight and your intentionality behind, just exposing yourself and finding yourself at this point. You found your, I guess, niche and your speciality, which is also amazing that you shared about that, to say you didn't have the answers from the get-go and you decided to put yourself out there. And one day we'll have this conversation again when you're CEO, which is quite exciting. But just as we wrap up, I know the hour passed by so quickly. It always does. It always does.
I'm shocked. It's been an hour. Wow.
Right? I wanted to just before we go get a bit of your more social side of life. I know you spoke about when in your downtime you meditate because I know that we're not machines, right? You're in
Yeah.
corporate, you're focused, you're keeping abreast with all the developments in your space, but you're not a machine.
No.
You of course have to tap out a little bit and unwind and relax. So you spoke about meditation. I wanted to get just a bit of a picture of what else you do to relax.
I like hanging out with my friends. It's fun. Um, Funny enough, the friends I hang around with at the moment today, they actually none of them are South African. So I have two main friends I hang with almost every weekend. One is American, one is Zimbabwean, and and so I like to hang around with them. I definitely have a lot of South African friends, but I think half of my friends are South African and half of my friends are from different countries.
Yeah.
I like. I tried golf, but yeah, no, it's one of those skill sets I wish I learned from a young age.
Yeah.
And occasionally I like to go out at night. I mean, you must stay young. You must find ways to stay young.
Where's it going down tonight?
Yeah, and have a couple of tequilas.
Yeah.
Please try tequila and cranberry. It's amazing.
Really? I'll try it.
Yeah, no, it's really amazing. Normally, yeah, that's what I'll do. I like the occasional going bowling, um, and and yeah, outside of that, I mean, I used to enjoy playing around with crypto. I do think those days are gone now for me. The times, I mean, Bitcoin right now is at like 120,000 US dollars, and usually at those times you would see the smaller coins do like 300% increase in 3 weeks, so 400%. Now they're doing like 50%, 40% or whatever, and it's no more exciting like it used to be in the past. So I used to actually enjoy just I'm playing with the charts from a crypto perspective and just teaching myself that. But it's something I've stopped because yeah, the market is too unstable for me.
You've made all your money.
Ish, I tried. I was looking for the Lamborghini money, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's me. I think it's important to work hard,
Yeah.
and it's important to have a social life, and and I think if there's nothing like a balanced life, there isn't. But you just need to find out what's important for you, and the social side of things, whatever you choose, you just need to make sure it doesn't influence your corporate life. And it actually it helps it more like if you're stressful from a corporate life, how do you lean into your social life a bit
Yeah.
to help release the stress? Because corporate can become stressful, but it's a stress I embrace. It's a
Yes.
stress I love. Working for a company where the DNA is about working together, getting to know each other first, working in teams, and just passion to help customers. That just it talks to me.
Yeah.
And I think for me that's important, right? For anyone that wants to go to a company, research the company, understand the values and what it's all about. There's certain companies that I could have gone to in the past, but I wasn't happy in terms of the values I'm seeing from the outside.
Yeah.
And I then said, no, that's not for me. And so it's not good to be always chasing money and all of that. Money will always be important. But for me, a good environment is also very important to me. A good working environment. The whole toxic things, and I can't work in toxic environments, sorry. Yeah.
And I mean, it's a 9 to 5. That's many
Yeah.
hours at work. So you better make sure that it's an environment that you enjoy and you feel like you belong.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, Nkosana, thank you for gifting us with your time because I really think this conversation will reach the ears that it needs to. Many people navigate the corporate world as well, not feeling like they belong or doubting themselves, or even when things don't go well. Like you spoke about your journey when you were finishing university or when you had finished and you thought it's gonna be easy, and it wasn't that easy to find a role, and here you are today as the head of an area. So thank you for really coming on to share your truth and your story and your vulnerabilities, even speaking about the crying that happened.
Yeah.
I'm definitely inspired from this conversation myself. There's a lot that I'm going to take away. You reminded me also of just the energy that I guess I used to have when I started my career. with life responsibilities, sometimes there's motherhood and this and that. And then you forget some of these things. So thank you for just recharging and coming on to share. And I wish you all of the best for your journey ahead as you pursue the journey towards becoming a CEO.
Amen.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Truly had a great time.
Well, folks, you have it there from Nkosana Roda, who's just spoken to us about his journey in corporate and how really the beginning was not as clear-cut, where he had some disappointments that he actually endured. But look at him today and the strides that he's managed to make, and attributing hard work as well as making sure that you work alongside your co-workers well. Thank you for tuning in. The Royal Corner, the place where we tell stories of passion, purpose, excellence, and overcoming. Please do not forget to subscribe, guys. Stop just watching. I see you guys watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And please also feel free to follow on Spotify. Ciao, ciao.